Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Retrograde Wear Gaming. I am your host, Dianu Nakuruzu Fortissimo, aka GSP, aka the Omega Jack. Back at it again. Just doing something light today. Probably trying to go into more detail in it in the bigger pod that I'm working on right now for Pokemon, but the world does not stop, and we have some pretty humongo news in terms of the world of monster catching. I'm not sure whether or not I'm actually going to use screen capture or some footage from some screen caps, some recordings of me playing some Pokemon games. But PalWorld responds to being suddenly sued by Nintendo. This is by Paul Tassi. It was updated at September 19th, 2024, 10:25 a.m. EDT. So, when PalWorld, the so-called Pokemon with Guns, was first released, there were immediate questions about whether Nintendo would have anything to say about it. Some pals looked like specific Pokemon. There was monster catching with balls. The game rocketed up in popularity, with some saying it was better than Pokemon had been in years. Then nothing. Nintendo had little more than a no comment about the game. But now, 8 months later, PalWorld's worst fear has come to pass. Developer Pocketpair is being sued by Nintendo and the Pokemon Company for what they say is patent infringement. From the filing, this lawsuit seeks an injunction, this lawsuit seeks an injunction against infringement and compensation from damages on the grounds that PalWorld, a game developed and released by a defendant, infringes multiple patent rights. Nintendo will continue to take necessary actions against any infringement of its intellectual property rights, including the Nintendo brand itself, to protect the intellectual properties it has worked hard to establish over the years. Overnight, PalWorld has now responded to the lawsuit, saying they're not aware of what Nintendo is even referring to in terms of infringement. Quote, "At this moment, we are unaware of the specific patent we are accused of infringing upon, and we have not been notified of such details." Pocketpair is a small indie game company based in Tokyo. Our goal as a company has always been to create fun games. We will continue to pursue this goal because we know that our games bring joy to millions of gamers around the world. PalWorld was a surprise success this year, both for gamers and for us. We were blown away by the amazing response to the game and have been working hard to make it even better for our fans. We will continue improving PalWorld and strive to create a game that our fans can be proud of. It is truly unfortunate that we will be forced to allocate significant time to matters unrelated to game development due to this lawsuit. However, we will do our utmost for our fans and to ensure that indie game developers are not hindered or discouraged from pursuing their creative ideas. End quote. Boy. And if I'm recording the screen properly, we get a little excerpt from X, formerly Twitter, from PalWorld_N's account. Regarding the lawsuit, yesterday a lawsuit was filed against our company for patent infringement. We have received notice of the lawsuit and will begin the appropriate legal proceedings and investigation into the claims of patent infringement. At this moment, we are unaware. So, it's not great. It's not great beans. Speculation is flying about what is actually going on here. There is alleging patent infringement, not copyright or trademark, so this should not be about monster designs, though quote-unquote intellectual property is mentioned, Forbes continues. And while you catch monsters with balls, level them up, and battle them all at its core, PalWorld is a survival game about not just monster collection, but base building and management, often with other players on a multiplayer map defending off waves of enemies. Something Pokemon has never been about. That said, it seems likely that the litigations Nintendo would be moving forward with this is if they did not have something it believes is significantly damaging, and whether whatever this is pans out and Pocketpair is found liable or not, this is going to be a significant investment of time and money for the company that is a fraction of the size of Nintendo. Yes, they made loads of money from PalWorld up front, but how much of that will now need to be devoted to this? How much will this hamper further development if PalWorld doesn't even know what they're supposed to be infringing on? The general public sentiment about this news is that this reads like a somewhat bullying move from Nintendo and the Pokemon Company that may be sparked by fear of PalWorld's success and how Pokemon was compared favorable to the standout game, or they genuinely believe PalWorld lifted something significant past similar monsters and a concept. But of course, Nintendo does not own the concept of catching monsters. That's not patented. So what is? There's also the question of whether Microsoft is going to get involved here, as they have a close relationship with Pocketpair and helped guide PalWorld into being the mega success it was. Are they going to go to bat here and back them? It's too early to tell, but the madness is only getting started. Thank you, Paul Tassi. Oh boy. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff, eh? Well, this is like almost a week later, and I have some thoughts from my own mind and from the minds of some of my friends who are also game developers on X, formerly Twitter. It's not really a surprise that I have friends that are game developers, or that I have followers and people who I really are rooting for. Close friends, actually. Who I'm involved in a lot of projects. I should have been a lot sooner in terms of my game design career, but had to focus on trying to get a more established lifestyle. So, what is the problem? Okay, so I played PalWorld. I don't think I released the video of me playing PalWorld, but I have Steam time on it. I like survival games. I think survival games are fun, especially if they're stylized in a way that reflects or speaks to me. Pokemon has been one of my favorite pastimes since I was a kid. Since I got my hands on my first copy of Pokemon Red, but I had way more fun with Pokemon Yellow, I feel. But I love Pokemon. I don't really want this to be happening, but I kind of figured it was going to happen, because there's no way PalWorld is going to get the amount of success that it has and not stow some ire from Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. There's no way. One of those reasons I think is pretty evident is that if we look at what PalWorld has earned as of June 20th, 2024, or as of February 22nd, 2024, PAL had sold a combined 25 million units on PC gaming platform Steam. So that's not to say, it was free on Xbox. That's why the article is saying that Microsoft is backing PalWorld and Pocketpair huge, because there is now a actual contesting monster catching game that speaks to a more mature and adult audience who have now outgrown a lot of what Pokemon is. And that's not to say that that's correct or right. For me, it's not an either or kind of question, but we'll keep going. Let's keep talking about what's going on. So we have PalWorld making 25 million. How much? I asked the question, how much did Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Generation 9 make? Well, according to Nintendo's quarterly financial report in specialized media, by the end of 2023, Scarlet and Violet had sold 24.36 million copies, finally pushing them into the top 3 bestsellers for the Pokemon series. So this particular generation is only been matched by Pokemon Heart, Soul, and Heart Gold and Silver Soul, Pokemon Gen 2. Basically, Pokemon was a mega hit, and then Pokemon 2 was Gold and Silver, and those were immensely popular games. It started Pokemania is not a word without reason. Nintendo was told, and people who did not like PalWorld's success and saw it as a blatant ripoff, deep dived, and they found and looked for similarities of copied material within any of the code, or there's something very gross about, people could tell there was something disgusting about PalWorld. And I personally was like, yeah, that's gonna happen at like in a space to punch Pokemon in the mouth unless they tried to do something drastic. I don't know if this is what was necessary, but I think this kind of thing needed to happen because I do the same kind of similar thing in terms of game design. I like using assets and like recycling them and reimagining them. I do edits with pixels and whatnot. So I feel like this is something like I want to see like how the response is. I don't want to blatantly copy Pokemon. If anything, in terms of game design, I would want to bring the good lore of Pokemon into a game or universe that I am creating and make it a part of it. So that's one thing, and I think that's where a diverging thing is happening, whereas someone is trying to pass off something original that is not original. Where it's not just a monster catching, collecting kind of game, right? It's also a survival game. Correct. I love Subnautica. That's an underwater survival game that was unimpressive to some people until it started getting really, really good in terms of how it unfolds and tells its story and just lets you go and do whatever you want. That's what people like about PalWorld, about its freedom. It's like non-handholdy kind of situation where you can literally do whatever you want, as so long as the game allows you to do it. And there can be repercussions for it, and there might not be. It's only up to you to find out, which can be exciting, and it can be a good stand-in for a lot of people. But however, there is the reality that the Pokemon Legends series already was allowing for a more realistic, more adult, or more teen or mature themed kind of Pokemon game where you take direct damage. Like, you take enough damage from Pokemon, you pass out, you black out, and like you can lose your items, you can lose your satchels, and then there's game mechanics that can tie into that. Like Pokemon Legends, like for me personally, I think that Gen 9 was really cool for what it was trying to be, but it'll never be what it needed to be so that people would know that they were trying that hard. Although I have a good friend who said, like, man, if you play this generation, you are going to love this story. And I saw the story, and I saw what I would have led to, like, whoa. But honestly, the road to the ultimate payoff of Gen 9, I don't think it would have been as interesting. It would have been hard for me to get through. Like Generation 8 was actually interesting because it contained some of the things that I was already familiar with, like classic routes in a 3D setting. That game was more like Pokemon Colosseum in terms of what everyone expected, like a 3D Pokemon game that had an adventure attached, a first-person campaign attached to it would or should be. I like that. I like that about Pokemon Generation 9, like Sword and Shield. I think that was, 8. Hope I said Pokemon Generation 8, Sword and Shield. That was good. Generation 9 looks a bit boring. And the clothing designs, the drip is not there. Like, I don't see the choice that I need, and to see that it is something that I would have to wait or have to invest in DLC wise to get like the full effect, like, man, like that's not cool. Like, we got to start trying to adapt more some of our contemporaries' ideas. Like Nintendo, Game Freak, you guys need to start looking at Capcom and start looking at how they are divvying up costume designs and like fun ways of addenduming their games, like, and end gaming their game. Like, we gotta step it up, you know. Like, look at well, I don't know. I don't think Sega and Persona is really doing a great job, because we should have. I would have. It's hard. It's hard to say who should be spending their time and money on developing, because you have to spend and do more. Like, you have to do the base to like sell something, and then you have to like do more. So it's like, here, do you want more? And it's like, sure. But for PalWorld, for a survival game, it has an ever expanding kind of thing where it's already doing expansions. It already announced an expansion earlier this year. Like, let me see right now. PalWorld expansion. PalWorld's new Sakajima expansion. Wow, also from Forbes. Also by Paul Tassi. Paul, you have fascination with this game, my bro. So, while I was just talking about Helldivers 2 and its inability to retain players on the suggestion of some readers, I took a look at how another game that blew up during the same time period, PalWorld, is doing right now. The answer, after its just released Sakurajima update, the answer is quite well, as the new sizable edition of the game has just produced player count numbers that are the best the game has seen in 3 months of its lifespan since its blockbuster release. PalWorld just broke a previous high in April of 128,000 concurrent players and is now surpassing some of the larger days in March. Now that it's the weekend and more people are playing, if it keeps increasing, it could surpass a few more after the... See, like, this wasn't even what I was trying to read. I wasn't trying to read how successful the expansion had done. And this was in April? This is it going April? Oh, wow. So this is months ago. So and Sakurajima already got released. So if people are playing at all, they're probably still playing now. And a lot of people who we wouldn't have suspected to be playing still are still playing. And the only reason I'm not playing is because my setup to play isn't set up right now. But when I do get set up to be able to play again, oh, trust me, you'll be getting footage. You'll be getting footage of PalWorld. I have to also come back into the reality that there are people who really want like another voice to be heard. The game developers, Pocketpair, it's a hard thing because the West, a lot of people who are Western developers, indie developers, are happy that Pocketpair are going to stand up against Nintendo because it's not right for a company like Nintendo or for Pokemon to say that they own every single little thing about Pokemon, and you can't capture animals in a ball. You can't trap creatures in a ball. How many people in this current lawsuit are going to get dragged into it? Because we're going to have to drag, as I said before, Capcom with Monster Hunter Stories is going to have to get dragged into it. Dragon Quest, Square Enix is going to have to get dragged into it. There's another game series that if they were to do a sequel right now, it would probably be a bad time because it's a pretty good example of why you would make a change as opposed to doing like what PalWorld did, was create similarities. Square Enix's other Pokemon series that's not Dragon Quest based but is Final Fantasy based, World of Final Fantasy. There's a whole bunch of mechanics within that we're gonna have to start hashing out, because if the indie scene and the fan game scene are to be protected and respected without getting harassed by these bigger corporations and companies, we need to understand what we're allowed to do. And the thing about the West is it's not right for Nintendo to say that you cannot make a fan game of our games just because you like our games. You should just wait for our next game or new game. And if you like our game so much, tell more people about our game and get them to buy our game so that we get more games out. And I understand that voice inside the mix as well. Do I think that's where we should be going, or if that's what we should be focused on?
Hey, Post Geo here. I'm trying to talk about how I don't know what we should be focused on in terms of like whether or not fan games should have the right to exist and be made. I think they definitely have the right to exist and be made, but I just wanted to make sure that I got to that point now so that you have a connecting point to when we talk more in depth about how what's happening with this court case may affect fan games and any games that are inspired by Pokemon going forward. So just wanted to make sure that was clear.
But let's dial it back. Pokemon Legends Arceus, how much did that sell? 14.83 million copies. So it sold 10 million copies less than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Was a single entry point game, but it still sold 14.83 million copies, which is 10 million less than PalWorld and 11 million less than Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. That's pretty good as a single entry, as a new idea for Pokemon, as a new expansion to like what Pokemon can do. That is amazing. So I can understand and side excuse me, I can understand and side with Nintendo and say, yeah, you know what, this is probably not a company, like we need to have this litigation battle. It's not something that we could avoid either way. Sooner or later somebody was going to do well enough that they were going to challenge Pokemon, and Pokemon is going to have to legally fight for its right to defend its copyright, to defend its IP. They absolutely have the right to do that. I will not sit here and say that they do not have a right to defend their ideas. That's not cool. I am pro-capitalism. I am pro-people. I want people to be able to earn money, earn income, I want kids to dream about working for the Pokemon company, work hard, and then get into those spaces and places and take the series to new heights. I want that to be a continuing thing. On the other hand, it is bad that if PalWorld loses, this might set a precedent of what is to be dictated to whosoever has an idea going forward when it comes to creatures and monster collection. Like there's this small little indie studio like game called Monster Crown that I really like, and like I don't know how they're gonna get affected. They do things differently enough, but they were still inspired by 2D portable Game Boy Color graphical RPG to make their own version of RPG that was fun. And will these other companies jump in and start tearing apart each other as well? Hey guys, post Geo here. So I'm saying that I don't know, or I can't decide, or I'm lying. I want these companies to like get at each other, because if Pokemon can do this for PalWorld, then we need to have everyone hash everything out so that no one is under any glib idea or misconception again. Just done. Like let's hash it out. Let's fight it out. Let's see everybody. Oh, in the Monster Japan collection is actually on Pokemon and Nintendo's side. Right? Like they're saying that Pocketpair and PalWorld are upstarts, and they are absolutely destroying that. There's an East versus West game developer here. Like the East, Japan itself, and all the indie game developers in Japan are saying, Pocketpair doesn't speak for us. We respect copyright. We respect people's ideas. We'll do our own thing. We'll make our own creations. We don't need to do things the way that you guys did. You guys are kind of scummy and whatever. Like you only got as big as you are getting because you really, really rode Pokemon's coattails, and then you tried to do something drastic by putting guns and adult material like eating and whatnot in this game, and then no, we're not about, you don't speak for us, don't represent us, we don't need you talking for us. Whereas the West is saying, no, this isn't right, like Pocketpair didn't do anything wrong, like these aren't Oddish, that's not Abra, these are not the same things, that's not Mewtwo. That like there's enough changed here, guys, that at the worst you could look at PalWorld as just parody. And it's like, but the fair use laws in Japan are different than they are in America, and Pocketpair is a Japanese company. So we're gonna have to hash it out. We're gonna have to see where the cards fall. But it'll be interesting nonetheless. I just hope we get things straightened out so that people, a whole bunch of fan projects and the fan games that I was looking forward to coming out don't just suddenly disappear because we can't do it anymore. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much all I've got on terms of like what I'm looking forward to on, or what I'm hearing and understanding about PalWorld and the lawsuits. Everyone has their opinion right now, but as far as it really goes, we need to just kind of wait until we really get the case the court case going. We can start finding out what but the thing, I guess the young here is Nintendo never pushes to take things to court unless they have concrete things that they know will get them the win. They have, like, when it comes to a domestic dispute on patent issues, Nintendo has never lost. So it's terrifying for Pocketpair right now, but they've got no choice because they released their game as where they were. Oh, I'm sorry. There's so many things about this situation that's because today was Sony's State of Play. Today is. Dang it! Stop. It's September 25th. So we just had the State of Play for Sony PlayStation. And that was interesting because one of the things that they showed us was that PalWorld is now available on PS5. And we were saying before that Microsoft was backing Pocketpair. Yeah, that's actually really, really interesting. Sony and Microsoft want PalWorld to succeed because PalWorld obviously pulls in numbers. It's doing something that Microsoft and Sony could never have dared to try. And it kind of makes you think. It kind of makes you wonder, like, what does that mean? Does that mean, like, did Sony and Microsoft invest in them knowing that this kind of thing was going to happen? And if they were, like, maybe they didn't change their domestic, the way that I am understanding it, they could have changed the locations of what the kind of company they were, or make a new company and then sell PalWorld out of that. And then Nintendo would have no case because it's a company that's in America and Europe and Australia, somewhere in the West. But they didn't do that. And I wonder if the reason they didn't do that is because Microsoft and Sony recently have had reputations about not being big enough into the Asian market, into the Eastern market, and that there's basically a complete black hole that Nintendo kind of eclipses of everything because they make games the way that you remember about between PlayStation 1 and 2 and why they wanted those things. Well, here we go. Here comes Nikki. Hey, Nikki. Hey, Nikki. You caught me in the middle of recording.
Sorry. I'll see you later then, okay?
It's okay. Alright, I'll call you back in a little bit, okay?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, and I'm also working on the State of Play as well. It's not. You think that with the PalWorld announcement, like that was a pretty big move, but the State of Play was not like this thing where I'm like, oh man, like I gotta go get a PS5. But the thing is that PalWorld is a game that will get people's attention to buy Xboxes, and people would buy an Xbox for PalWorld and Fortnite and Minecraft and Halo, and it's a service machine where if you didn't really like a lot of things from, or you didn't grow up being a Sony kid, you would grab an Xbox and then you would want to support your ecosystem over there, and you could do that very passively with just your parents paying your subscription, and you when you turn 14 or whatever, you get your social security, whatever, and you start working, and then you can start paying for your own games, start paying to get games that you specifically want, and blah blah blah. And the same thing can be said about the PlayStation 5. And I didn't realize that this digital game only might actually be one of those. PalWorld might be one of those games that Sony. So it's not to say that PalWorld is completely without option or allies. In fact, I'm sure a lot of people are probably making the connection there in their own videos towards the state of play of what. But since I got a chance to watch that today while living and making videos for that, I can talk about it right now and just be like, yeah, you know what, that is interesting. They got a big pile of money this year. They're not hurting for user base as of April. We could check that. We could check what numbers they're saying now. Probably. If anything, this news might drive people to play more PalWorld, which wouldn't be surprising. So if Microsoft is backing them, if Sony is backing them, people have been kind of doom and glooming that Pocketpair doesn't have the money to like survive the bleed out, because I was saying as such and as much before. But if I'm going to start being better at recanting news and view, I don't know. They might. I mean, Microsoft has endless money. That's an easy assertion to make. So it's not to say is that they don't have a means of like keeping up the fight, because if Nintendo, oh man, now it's dicey. Now it's like a real fight. Like it's like, well, I guess it's gonna depend. I guess it's gonna depend. And the thing is that we also have talked about the fact that doing all this litigation and law is going to deviate from dev work. So the next expansion won't happen between, who knows, maybe December, January, around the same time that they were planning, that Nintendo and Pokemon Company were going to release Pokemon Legends ZA, the sequel to Arceus, which everybody spent the summer discussing about and was excited about after just the announcement trailer. We haven't even gotten a single video up to this point about what is happening with Pokemon Legends ZA, although we are due. So now that we see PalWorld is getting backed by Sony and showing up with their state of play, now Nintendo's going to fire back, and it can't show slowdown or no steam on having Pokemon Legends ZA, because other games are already getting delayed, and the Switch 2 hasn't been announced yet, and everybody is waiting for that announcement. The PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 Pro are getting new bundles, getting new deals, getting new colors. Like there's incentive to buy PalWorld and get a PlayStation 5 Pro now. What if Nintendo's not careful, they might lose grip here. People might willingly go with the more expensive console just to give their child or their kid or themselves that same thing, which they would. Oh no, it's a battle now. It's a real battle. Oh man. The only difference is that in PalWorld, the tamer or trainer can grab an Uzi and blast you and your trainer. So I don't know. Is Pocketpair fighting dirty? Maybe. Should they win because we want to do whatever we want and be able to pervert whatever we want? No. But at the same time, it would probably take very little to change a few things in PalWorld so that it's a little bit more unique, so that it's not so similar to Pokemon that people it can't be called Pokemon with guns anymore. Maybe that's the other problem. Like its subtitle towards people is that it's Pokemon with guns. People don't like that, and a lot of people probably don't. Everyone at Nintendo probably hates that they're eating their money in food as well, and they're getting notoriety of being Pokemon, but with guns. That's not good. That's going to dilute the message. It's going to dilute the family-friendly, traditional. And it's like, I don't want any hardcore PalWorlders to come on here and say, "Oh, you're such a softy, you idiot. We don't need that kind of thinking anymore. We have a billion games of that childish nonsense bullcrap." And it's like, guys, chill out, relax. Nobody cares that you've moved on and that you think that Pokemon is for dumb baby kids. You said, like, becoming the bully that always bullied you for liking Pokemon is not a flex. Don't do it. It's not important enough that PalWorld needs to survive so that you get more Pokemon, because new Pokemon is coming, and they're trying their best to do new innovative things as well. You can't say that they're not trying new things with Legends and with what they're trying in Generation 8 and 9. They're trying different things. They're trying to do different things. Is it lackluster? Could they be doing more? Yes, of course. But they don't have the hardware to be preparing and doing more. So we need, like, certain things need to happen. We need to let things play out. But I'm glad that that there are things happening on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, for us to, like, see where we can go. So I want to hear your questions, comments below, and I hope you like, comment, and subscribe, and you had a wonderful time with me here today. Thank you for joining me for Retrograde Wear Gaming. I was Yanyanakarisu Fortis, aka the Omega Jack, aka